What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about this toxic obsession with main character energy that's absolutely everywhere right now. And before you click away thinking this is just another rant, just stick with me, because this isn't just about some dumb social media trend. I like to break stuff down pretty deep on this channel. This mentality is literally rewiring how people think about themselves, their relationships, and their place in the world, and it's making us all worse people in the process. So grab your favorite drink, settle in, and let's break down why everyone's trying to be the main character of reality and how it's creating a generation of narcissistic, disconnected, and ultimately miserable people. Now, if you've been living under a rock, main character energy is this whole movement about supposedly taking control of your life, you being the star. It's not about settling for being a background character in your own story or any situation you're in. And that can sound empowering if you've just heard of it, but the core message is to prioritize yourself, set boundaries, don't dim your lights for others, live your truth, manifest your dreams. Like, that sounds good. Your Instagram feed might be full of quotes talking about choosing yourself, not accepting crumbs. That's cool. I'm not saying advocating for yourself is bad. Like, knowing your worth is great and setting healthy boundaries is essential. But somewhere along the way, this reasonable idea got twisted into something completely different. And the main character energy we see today isn't about healthy self-respect. It's about treating every interaction like you're the star of the movie and everyone else is either supporting cast or extras. It's about optimizing every moment for your personal narrative instead of just living. It is funny, you'll see it on Instagram and other platforms, like people posting like some cringe ass posts and people are gonna be like, you're not the main character, bro. But just think about how people talk about their lives now. Everything is my season, my era, my glow up, and every visit outside of their house becomes an aesthetic moment, and every relationship gets evaluated based on what does this add to my story. I guess what really gets me about it is that this isn't confidence, because real confidence doesn't require constant performance. Real confidence does not need an audience. This is something else entirely, and it's making people profoundly lonely. Let's talk about what's really happening here, because main character energy is basically rebranded narcissism with better marketing, and I'm not throwing that word around lightly. Clinical narcissism involves an inflated sense of self-importance, a deep need for excessive attention and admiration, and a lack of empathy for others. Does that sound familiar? That's literally the main character energy playbook. I mean, the whole movement really teaches people how to just see themselves as inherently more important than others. Your time is precious, but other people's isn't. Your feelings matter, but other people's are secondary. Your story is interesting, but other people are just NPCs in your world. And social media has turned this into a competition, and everyone is trying to out main character each other. The most aesthetic breakfast, the most profound caption, the most unbothered energy, and it's kind of exhausting watching it. And the whole time, narcissism is just actually rooted in deep insecurity, and all that main character energy is just overcompensation. It's people who are terrified of being ordinary or being forgotten or not mattering. And so they create this elaborate performance of self-importance, and every mundane moment gets reframed as character development, and going to therapy becomes working on myself era. Ending a relationship becomes choosing peace. Buying expensive coffee becomes investing in experiences. The problem is when you're constantly performing being the main character, you never actually just get to be a person. You're so busy curating your story that you actually forget to live it. Now let's talk about how this mindset absolutely destroys relationships, because this is where it gets really dark. When you see yourself as a main character, everyone else just becomes supporting cast. Your friends exist to celebrate your wins, validate your choices, provide content for your story. Your romantic partner are there to enhance your narrative and not be full humans with their own complex inner lives. And I see this constantly. It's people evaluating friendships based on what energy are they bringing to my life. If someone's going through a rough patch and needs support, well, that's not very main character energy, is it? It's not aesthetic. That doesn't fit the vibe. The main character energy crowd loves to talk about cutting people off, protecting your peace, and that's very valid, as toxic relationships should end, but they've turned basic human complexity into red flags. It's like it damn near brings their IQ down to room temperature, and when your friend is stressed about work, they're bringing negative energy. Your partner is dealing with family issues, they're not matching your vibe. Your sibling needs help moving, that's not part of your main character moment. It's creating a generation of people who think healthy relationships should be effortless and always serve their interests. They don't know how to show up for others when it's inconvenient. They don't understand the real love, romantic, platonic, family sometimes means you're not the center of attention. The cruel irony behind it is by treating everyone else like supporting characters, they guarantee that no one will ever see them as worthy of being the main character in return. You can't build meaningful connections when you refuse to be genuinely interested in other people's stories. The saddest part is these people often end up incredibly lonely, blame everyone else, and surrounded by shallow connections and wondering why nobody really gets them. It's because they've never allowed anyone to get close enough to see past the performance. Of course, none of this exists in a vacuum. Social media has weaponized this main character mentality and turned it into a full-blown epidemic. Think about how platforms are designed. Every post is you at the center. Every story is your perspective. Every photo is optimized to make your life look like a movie. The algorithm literally rewards main character behavior. And of course, that's going to mess up a younger generation. It can mess up anyone, but we see it a lot with the younger generation. And the most engagement goes to people who present themselves as living their best life, having the most profound thoughts, the most aesthetic experiences. Being ordinary doesn't get likes, and being vulnerable doesn't always go viral, but performing enlightenment, that's content gold. So we've created this feedback loop where people craft these perfect main character personas online and get validated for it, and then feel pressure to live up to the image in real life, and the performance becomes a reality. I see people who literally can't experience a moment without thinking about how to share it, can't eat a meal without styling it, can't have a conversation without mining it for content, can't even have emotions without turning them into inspirational posts. It's actually kind of crazy. In any form you see of this stuff, it's all the same thing, and it's teaching people how to optimize their lives for external validation rather than internal satisfaction. And the worst part, there's young impressionable people that see this stuff and it's making them feel like they're failing at life, because when everyone's performing perfection, your actual human experience with its messiness and complexity feels inadequate. We're comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel, and now the highlight reel isn't even real. It's a carefully constructed main character performance designed to generate envy and engagement. The thing that really breaks my heart about all this is the main character energy movement promises connection and fulfillment, but it delivers the exact opposite. And when you're constantly performing, you never get to just be. When you're always on and you never get rest, when everyone around you is supporting cast, you never get to feel supported. And the people I've seen who are the most obsessed with main character energy, I'm willing to bet they were the loneliness. And they have hundreds of Instagram followers, but no one ain't gonna call you at 2 a.m. They have aesthetic apartments, but no one feels comfortable showing up. Genuine connection requires effort and vulnerability isn't very main character, neither is effort, because everyone wants to be nonchalant about it. Real relationships require compromise, and compromise doesn't fit the never settle narrative. Love requires sometimes putting someone else's needs first, and that's likely the opposite of main character energy. So a lot of these people gonna end up isolated behind this perfect performance and wondering why they feel so empty despite doing everything right according to the internet. They've optimized for the wrong metrics. The cruel irony is that the most magnetic people, the ones who actually feel like main characters when you're around them, usually the ones that make you feel like the main character. They're genuinely curious about others, they're present, and they're not performing. Look, I get the appeal. It's something that I probably would have done myself if I was younger still. This part of social media wasn't really coming up yet. It was starting to, but it wasn't fully there, and this was like, 8-9 years ago. We're in a world that often makes us feel powerless and insignificant. So the idea of being the main character, especially to young people, sounds revolutionary. And parts of it are good, which is the actual pureness of it, which is knowing your worth and setting boundaries, not accepting less that you deserve. But we've now taken a reasonable idea and turned it toxic. We've confused confidence with narcissism, and self-care with selfishness, and boundaries with barriers. Real main character energy isn't about treating everyone else like extras. It's about being so secure in yourself that you can genuinely celebrate others. It's about being interesting enough that people want to be around you, not because you perform perfectly, but because you're authentically yourself. The people who actually live fulfilling lives aren't the ones constantly talking about their main character energy, I can promise you that. They're too busy actually living to perform it for an audience. So maybe it's time people stop trying so hard to be the main character and just focus on being a good character. How about that? Be someone worth having a story with, not just someone trying to steal every scene. That's all I got for today. Let me know in the comments if you've noticed this trend affecting people in your life, or if you caught yourself falling into the main character trap. And as always, thank you for watching. Hit that subscribe button if you want more of these deep dives, and I'll see y'all in the next one.